Good evening. We're going to begin our regular board meeting for our Toledo Public School Year of Education. We will begin with a moment of silence. And before we begin today's meeting, we're going to invite all of you for a brief moment of silence. This is a remembrance of the lives lost and forever changed by gun violence in our communities and across the nation. Let us honor their memory, stand in solidarity with those grieving, and reflect on our shared responsibility to build safer spaces for all. If you please stand for just a moment. Thank you.
Mr. Vasquez. Here. Mr. Parker. Here. Mrs. Harwood.
Present.
Ms. Barnes.
Present. Okay, before we move on, I'd like to let everyone know that our colleague, Mrs. Paula Bergen, will not be joining us this evening. She just had surgery on her spine and is unable to attend tonight. Okay, we're going to turn it over to her allegiance then. Okay, and if you'd like to stand, we'll let you do this.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
TPS is purpose-driven and future-focused. We provide innovative education opportunities that ensure each student is prepared for their future. We empower each and every student to lead and live a purpose-driven life.
I'd like to thank Mrs. Cooper's fifth grade class from Beverly Elementary for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then Mr. Vision was recited by eighth grade recorded grade from Beverly Elementary. At this time, we will move to the board agenda adoption. Excuse me. Secretary, motion for that, please.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Current treasurer, please call the roll.
Mr. Vasquez.
Yes.
Mr. Parker. Yes. Mrs. Harwood.
Yes.
Ms. Barnes.
Yes. Great. Section 2 of presentations, and I will turn it over to Dr. Brent.
I'll turn it over to the paper.
Good evening and thank you. I would like to recognize and congratulate tonight's retirees. Denise DeMazen, she's an MD paraprofessional at Rogers. She's retiring with 41 years and 8 months of service. Shelley N. Ewing, secretary here in the administration building, 28 years, 3 months of service. Patricia Parker, food service worker 2 at Burndale, 45 years, 5 months of service. Marie Nedra Tomansky, sorry about that, MD paraprofessional at Woodward, 42 years, 8 months of service. And Karen Elaine Webley, MD paraprofessional at McTighe, 37 years, 9 months of service, for a total of 196 years and 3 months of service to Toledo Public Schools.
Thank you, Ms. Mazur. We move to section 3, which are community comments. Treasurer, could you please recite the policy?
The board values the input of citizens and community members regarding all aspects of the district. The board understands that education is the center of all community issues and activities, and that the input is important because it allows the board to hear all views on all matters. In order to ensure a full public comment portion during board meetings, all citizens and community members who are scheduled to speak before the board shall abide by these general rules. 1, each speaker has 3 minutes unless modified by the board president. 2, the time will be displayed for the speaker and the public to see. The charge will announce when time is expired. 3, any questions that speakers would like responses to should be submitted in writing, and the board president will secure answers within a reasonable time frame, normally 7 to 10 days, depending on the amount of research required to provide a comprehensive response and the time-sensitive nature of the question. 4, board members will not engage in policy dialogue with speakers, but will use their established committee format to have substantive dialogue. The public comment section is the opportunity for the board to listen to all citizens and community members who may contact the speakers following the meeting for individual feedback and questions. The general guidelines are established as a way to provide the maximum opportunity for board members to listen to citizens and community members and provide an organized and structured procedure for feedback that will help our students and communities.
Thank you. And our first speaker tonight is Ms. Sutra. Ms. Charles, can you either share, because we can certainly get one for you if you'd like, or would you like to stand?
I'll just stand.
Okay, all right, please come to the mic then. Thank you.
Here to stand.
But it's true. To be able to read this does require a little bit. Okay. My name is Sue Terrell. I'm a Libby High School alumna, advocate, and activist. In the course of more than 16 plus years, I've attended very contentious TBS meetings when schools were pitted against each other to stay open, especially in the full Southside community of Edward Drummond Libby High School over 16 years ago. Since the demolition of Libby High School, I've seen the effects of communities struggling to gain a new identity, deteriorating, and working to improve conditions. I see the anger and confusion that lingers when there are no longer neighborhood schools. In contentious TBS meetings in 1991, TBS saved Libby High School and closed both Maycomer and DeVilbiss schools. And yet, despite the 1991 decision that they closed, today the former Maycomer High School was sold and is currently repurposed by the Cherry Street Mission, and DeVilbiss High School thrives now with the Toledo Tech Academy, Medical Center, etc. While in 2012, the Libby High School Community Comprehensive Southside School, then honored one of Toledo's most generous benefactors, was demolished with nothing left but a barren campus. So, I have witnessed much. I would guess everyone here feels anger. The Board of Education, the staff, the teachers, the parents, the unions, the students, and the community. Yes, anger, but take a deep breath. We have heard the community shaking news, but citizens want the information to act, and that will come from our local leaders and communities. But wait, who didn't show up tonight? Where are they? Not the people like you who care. What really needs to hear, who really needs to hear our anger and our frustration? So who is not here to face the consequences of the loss of public education funding? No questions to be asked of them. They who have the most power to make this right. And may I introduce the and I'm sorry I don't have their photographs, should all be here. May I introduce to Northwest Ohio, to faces you've likely never met before, but who have had the power to make draconian educational cuts here and truly statewide. These are not mugshots, but the smiling faces of our State Department of Education Committee, representatives, and senators in Columbus. And I have their contact information available for anybody that wants it to be passed out. Earn your grade, A for advocate, A for activist, and don't let the state divide us. United we stand. Get this list of smiling faces and contact these elected officials and organize.
Ms. Taka Kozicki. Thank you.
I hope not.
Okay.
She said, don't touch it. Okay, excuse me. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here. Hello, Dr. Grant. I don't know how to follow what Stu just said. That was great. I love the 409, Holy Toledo. We are a special place, but we are always at risk. So what I wanted to do is take up your time today with just a few questions and have them here so I can turn them into you. What can be done to reverse and or change funding problems and negative public school legislation at the state and federal level? I believe Sue spoke to that to some degree. Contact those legislatures. What can parents, citizens, and community members do to change or assist Toledo public schools? Maintain community-based schools, stop the demolition of historic buildings, and the destruction of Toledo neighborhoods. Number 2, what assurances can you give that historic buildings such as Harvard Elementary School will not be demolished or repurposed for charter schools? I believe Harvard Elementary was built in 1928, and I want to say it was Edwin Gee, but I'm not sure. Thank you, Sue. And of course, Edward Gee was hired by Edward Drummond Libby, and he's also the architect of Libby High School. South Toledo has endured a loss of community spaces and educational institutions, causing the breakdown of neighborhoods. 15 years ago, Edward Drummond Libby High School and the South Toledo YMCA closed, leaving an empty space and a dog park. And I'm not against dog parks, I love dogs. Recently, Toledo Heights Library closed. Now we are faced with the planned closing of Heather Downs Branch Library and Harvard Elementary. I understand you guys can't do anything about the libraries, but it all comes together. What can be done to reverse the proposed closing of Harvard Elementary? Respectfully submitted. Oh, and I do want to say really quick, Sue had brought up Montgomery Libby. I'm so glad to see that repurposed for Cherry Street, but what I'm really bummed out about was that Whitney was destroyed. Demolishing Whitney, we may not have understood what a creative, historic building that was. I wanted to mention that too. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you to our committee members that signed up to speak. We're going to move to section 4, which is organizational input. Right now we have Parent Congress, which Ms. Joanna Way, President of the Parent Teacher Organization at Jones Leadership Academy of Business, and member of PBS Parent Leadership Board.
Good evening, everyone. As she said, my name is Joe Coyne. I have been the president of the PTO at Jones Leadership Academy for like 7 years and been affiliated for the last 9. I know I don't have students in anymore. I just care enough to stay because not enough parent has been able to step up to put the name in the checking account. Those who run the PTOs know how that goes. I want to tell you about some positive things that I've seen in the district lately. I want to talk about the chess tournament that was hosted at Jones Leadership Academy Business. I was there the whole day. I had 2 daughters participating in it, and it was the biggest turnout we've ever had. We had schools that had never been in a TPS tournament. Ottawa Hill showed up, Perrysburg showed up, and Old West End Academy showed up really deep. And we had more people than ever before, so I'm super excited that the chess tournament for TPS is growing into other school districts and communities. Also, I am a success coach at Pickett Elementary. I met with my girls twice. I'll meet them again tomorrow. I have 2 5th grade girls, and I'm excited about that. And we will continue to keep up with them as they change schools. And today I found out something that I never knew TPS did. Even though I've been affiliated for so long, I never knew that we had a partner in the community that helps put, it's called, let me get it right, Safe Routes to Schools, right? I didn't even know that existed. Today I went to Thai Elementary School and the gentleman who gave up their own time to be there to help the kids get their bikes fixed. And it was super cute. The kids are lining up there with their tricycles, big kids with the big bikes, and I really think that that is an awesome program, and I love it, right? And I came together here and I talk about the elephant in the room, right? I'm at J-Lab. Our school is on the list of potential closings. I have a 5th grader and a 4th grader at Emily's Lord Academy for Girls. That school is on the list for potential closings. And I'm a success coach at Pickett. My school is closing, right? Nobody is happy about any of it. Nobody's sitting up here. None of you out there. Nobody is listening. But I believe, as a parent, right, I do believe that they're doing the best that they can for our kids. Now, I have to believe that. I have to trust these people when we vote to be up here, right? We vote for them, and if you didn't vote for them, it doesn't matter because they're still working for you, right? And so I'm asking everybody to just take a breath and let it out. This is not the first time that the district has had to make very, very difficult decisions. I went to that cover baby. It doesn't exist anymore, right? McKinley doesn't exist anymore. There's a lot of schools that don't exist anymore. And we made it through the other side and we succeeded and we stand strong. So we stand together and not fight and not argue, and we just listen to each other. And think before you speak, because some words you can't take back. I appreciate every single one of you being here, and things are going to be better. We just have to stay positive. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. White. I appreciate your words. Next is Amelia Rivera, the captain.
Okay, thank you. First, I want to acknowledge the three speakers that spoke, the two community representatives and the parent representative. It was good and they were right on. I also want to thank and commend you, everybody that came to show up, whether it's staff, parents, students, community members. This is important. These are community schools. As I've said before, I'm a Wake graduate, Birmingham Elementary, Toledo Junior High, when that was there. Like you had said, we've been through some of these issues before. And as a East Sider, as a public educated student, I know the value of those neighborhood schools, and it is important that you're here and represent what you know is true and what you can convey. So I thank you all for being here. I do want to address, we did a thing on Thursday. You do have that MOU that you're going to be looking at today for approval. The membership with TAP UAW Local 5242 did vote for a freeze to save 30 positions. But it's not just those 30 positions. Those positions, counselors, psychologists, assistant principals, that would be in schools that would not have been there, which I think is less services for kids and communities and parents. So there was a sacrifice. It's not an easy vote for myself or for the trustees, the union, to fight for wages and increase in working conditions and contracts, to come back a year and a half and tell them to pause that, to give that back. So I do commend and I'm proud to represent the membership of TAP that made that decision. You also should know that we had 18 cuts in 2024, I'm not going to forget, and 21 in 2025, 40 mid-year cuts this February, where I had mentioned that we had 9 people that were not going to retire for a year or two that chose to retire to again sacrifice so that we have less bumping, less changes in the schools during the second half of the year. So I do commend it, and their names are still on my wall, and I do thank them for doing that. And now we have this other sacrifice that the union did to try and save positions to help to be in these schools and provide resources that students and community need. It is heavy heart. Sue mentioned anger. There's some anger there in why we're here, that we shouldn't be here. State legislator has a huge part of that. The district has some of that as well. I think as a union and as a membership and as a graduate of TPS, we want to see this successful as much as everybody in this room. So I want you to know we're still here and we're still going to fight and support TPS. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera, for those words. Tiffany, Toledo.
I guess it's evening, so good evening, everybody. Thanks for allowing this opportunity to address the board and the superintendent and deputy superintendent. First, I too want to congratulate and recognize the speakers that came before me. I appreciate the passion and emotion that have gone into their comments, and had a chance to speak with the parents outside on behalf of the Harvard and Bar schools, other schools that are being impacted by some of the decisions. And I know it's not easy. I know it's not easy for them. There's generations of families that attended those schools and are watching a piece of the fabric community be ripped away. So I know TFT was asked to weigh in at one of the oversight committee what buildings should be closed, and I said it then, I'll say it now, that is not a decision that I can make, a recommendation without knowing all the facts. What does it do? How does it impact their schools, their communities? How does it impact the receiving schools? All that. And at that time, and I know Sue and some others were there, that information wasn't readily available, just the average of what it could save dollar-wise. So those are not decisions that I can just wholly make. I would either recommend just based on the dollar sign. With that being said, I want to talk a little bit about the deficit. We've heard back in November, we heard in December, $68 million projected deficit. The key word is projected. I lean back anytime I start talking about education, fall back on my first grade roots of 17 years in the classroom, and just, I guess, everything I need to know I learned in first grade. The math is simple. So let's assume those numbers are accurate. $68 million projected deficit. All right? Then, at some point, a couple weeks ago, I believe it was announced to the building reps and building principals that the deficit was now down to roughly $27 million. So that was pre-transformation plan. So 68 minus 27 is 41 million of savings have already been generated due to cuts and other cost-saving mechanisms, whatever that looks like, whatever the words are being used. Then I go back to the letter the state sent to the district of communication, I believe in July, and then one in October, roughly October 21st, that said the districts had a hole in the budget around $38 million, maybe just south of $38 million. So my first grade math would tell me that 41 minus 38 is a $3 million cushion that has been generated. And I know sitting through some of the oversight committees, there has been talk about, well, I want a cushion when we do these cuts, or I want liberal here and conservative there. Well, folks, when we lay off 17 nurses, we don't have room for a cushion. If we're talking about reducing services for students in classrooms, we don't have room for cushion. It needs to be razor thin until we get this figured out on behalf of the students and the community. So those are some of the first grade numbers that I had. Now, we committed to digging into the deficit, and we have done so. We've attempted to do more. And our people said, well, what did AFT say? What did your auditor say? So we've asked for information because it was incomplete what we received. But one of the things that was striking to us is that the information that was provided, it realized that 22% reduction from FY21 to FY25, 22% reduction in FY25 was spent, so less dollars spent on direct instruction to students in those 4 years. That's important for my next few comments. Where other areas expanded by over 400%. Those weren't instructional dollars. We have questions. We've asked for formulas and worksheets to complete our review. That request was met ultimately with the statement that the information that we are requesting, that the program apparently that designed the budget is proprietary. On the face of it, that is nonsense. This is a public entity that is committed to and obligated to open access and open records. If the district is using a vendor that is claiming that their information is proprietary, then I would be questioning that vendor, because we deserve answers. You want our support. You want us to recognize this deficit, and you're asking us to make catastrophic life decisions. Some members looking to lose 20% of their income out of their household budget. Unacceptable. We need all the facts before we can get up in front of my membership and say, hey, this is what we recommend, this is what we believe. We've never said we're not ready to stand and help, but we do need full transparency. We need transparency, not communication that ends up being divisive. So for what it's worth, and I want to preface my next comments by saying I'm not here to marginalize any of the work that Mr. Ramirez has done with his members in any of the decisions they have made. However, back to my first grade roots here. I was thinking of a story when I was in a building the other day. One of my favorites in the classroom, click, clack, move. Got that type. I don't know if you remember the story or not. A lot of kids don't know it, but it's really a story about organizing and union efforts. All the farm animals come together, type some stuff down, they need some basic needs and necessities. Well, comparing that to what we do, we sat down in 2024 and bargained in good faith. We had back and forth, give and take. We came up with a settlement. And when I say we, it wasn't just TFT. It was Mr. Gant, Dr. Durant, Ryan Stick-Schulte, Randall Parker, Chris Varwick, Sheena Barnes, Molly Gergen, and Bob Vasquez. It was all of us. And we said this is our commitment to doing what's right for students. And that includes compensation for teachers. That includes classroom sizes, student services, nurses in buildings, extracurricular, all the things that we agreed to. Now, we have been asked to forego and break that commitment. The promises that we made, not just to ourselves, but to the community, because that's what that contract is. It's not just a contract for benefits and wages. It's a contract, and it's a promise and a commitment to the community and the students that we serve every day. And when we lost 17 nurses, we saw the impact of that pretty rapidly with some phone calls and incidents that occurred. So don't think for a second that those decisions did not have real life impact when they were made instantly. So, yesterday, an email came out on behalf of the Board of Education, written, I believe, by Dr. Green, thanking Mr. Ramirez and his membership for their sacrifice. Understandable, I guess. But the line in the email that was not received well at all was that their decision just wasn't one of financial action, but one of leadership and a commitment to public education and a collective responsibility that we had to navigate the situation. And then it ends with an appeal, essentially, that all other bargaining units would step up and essentially do the same. So our members, and myself included, feel that that line was a slap in the face to the work we do every day. Refusing to avoid a lawful contract is not a lack of commitment. It is a commitment to the fidelity and the process in which we participated. We collectively, all the members of TFT, all the Board of Education, and everybody that participated in that. So when you say we don't have a lack of commitment, I ask you, what evidence do you have that supports that? Is it the assaults our members are taking every day? Is it the safety and the safety and security that our members provide? Is that not lack of commitment? How about the fact that schools were given very little notice, blindsided in some instances, that their buildings were closing, and the entire staff showed up the next day to make sure their kids were heard and understood? I'm not sure how that's characterized as lack of commitment. Secondly, this collective responsibility. I believe collective responsibility would have to start with collective decision making. TFT was not asked if we should purchase Scott Park campus. We support the concepts. In fact, we helped draft them up. But we weren't asked to support, we were not asked to buy Scott Park campus. We were not asked collectively if we thought putting a levy on in 2024 that left our district with an $18 million deficit was a good idea. In fact, I was at an oversight committee meeting and I questioned that about the polling. I was told then there was no polling, there was a decision we made. We, not with TFT. So before we ask for the collective responsibility, I would ask that you put in place the collective decision making. And then we're more than happy to sit down and help you with this responsibility. But what we cannot do and will not do is be called in at the 11th hour and then say, oh, by the way, we got a mess, we need your help to fix it. Because when I looked at some of the report that I received from AFT, that's kind of what I'm seeing. We have no doubt, and we heard it from Sue put it well, we have no doubt public education is under attack from the state legislature, feds, the state, pushing back on the locals to fund schools, public education as they destabilize us. However, the biennium budget impacted us by roughly $25 million. We had a cash reserve that could have covered that $25 million, but I'll go back to what Emilio said. In 2023 or 2024, collectively, we made $30 million worth of cuts by not laying off, but by cutting positions and removing those individuals from that spot and adjusting things like that. So again, if you want collective responsibility, then don't bring us in at the end and say, okay, fix this. Bring us and start us from the beginning. Because I would have said, we should do polling for a living. We should check the viability of what we can and cannot do. But again, our members are worried, not just for themselves, but they're worried about classroom sizes. They're worried about the angst and anxiety of cutting supplementals and closing buildings. These are all questions that are falling back on them from parents and students alike, and we have no answers. Even today, I've asked for information from the district saying we need this to review some stuff. I sat in HR committee meeting, I think it was in March. Mr. Parker was there, and I asked a request for information from the cabinet member. As of to date, which is a month ago, I still do not have that information. So if you want collective responsibility, open the books, give us the real information, and let us help you. But until then, we're not there. We're not there yet. And it doesn't mean we don't have a commitment for public education. Moving forward, because we will have to move forward, and make no doubt about it, we are going to be fighting for everything that we promised and agreed to our members and our staff and students, and we're going to be continuing to fight for Toledo Public Schools. Because it's not just an educational institution, it's a legacy in Toledo. It is what people look to. There's things that we do here that should be modeled after the nation, one of which you guys cut in January, leaving close to 100 members unsupported throughout the remainder of the school year at some of our most difficult assignments. But moving forward, I would encourage you, if you want shared responsibility, a collective responsibility, I believe the words were used by the letter on behalf of the Board of Education, is we need to create a committee where real decisions are made. I don't want to be an open public committee. It needs to be a committee where we're having conversations. If you want it done in public, I guess that's up to you guys. But what I don't want and what we can't have are predetermined decisions. Bring me in for a committee and then have already predetermined. Don't waste my time. Don't waste our time. So we'd ask that there be a joint district committee that helps identify those on budget decisions and moves that forward. Again, TFT stands for high quality public education. We stand for the commitments we've made on behalf of our members and our teachers and our students and staff in the community. If something is needed, what we need is full disclosure into information. Information cannot be kept proprietary, and we're just supposed to trust you. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm not going to reiterate what President Dalton said because he said it quite well. And we did our independent audit starting after the board meeting in December. Our economists in Washington do not agree with the numbers that have been provided from your institution, from the district. They do not coincide with what has been potential deficit of $68 million. We have inconsistencies in statements. We have inconsistencies in information. We have inconsistencies in positions. We have inconsistencies in almost everything that it would take for us to collectively be part of what you're being asked of these unions. Yesterday's email that was to us as a union, and our members of almost 700 for Ask Me, who clean the buildings, transport the kids, feed the kids, make sure they get checked in, their enrollment, their medical records, and everything else we do. And yet, we cannot get factual information. We cannot get accurate information that coincides when we do an audit from our Washington labor economists that can bring us remotely close to what has been presented to forego what we bargained in good faith. President Dalton said he bargained in 24. We bargained really in 25. We all sat at that table. There's no reason, if the district is where it says that it is, then someone did not bargain in good faith. And I'm not saying the board. And I will fully acknowledge the board votes on the information that it is provided. But if it was the same information that we have been provided on which to make these decisions, that is not bargaining in good faith. That is not factual information. We brought the president and Council 8 in to meet with all our members from all 5 locals. We invited all 700 of our members in to talk about where we are, how we got here, using accurate information, emails, information, financial information, vacancy listings, all of that stuff. And yet, none of it was consistent from December's board meeting, when we were all alerted to this, when clearly, July, we knew that fair funding money was gone. In October, the ODE sent the letter. We found out in December. As AFSCME, as our leader, as the director of AFSCME for this region, we had no idea that was coming. Because no one talked to us. No one came and said, hey, we see this coming. Can we sit down and have a conversation? What it looks like? No. We found out along with President Dalton in December. Some may have known earlier, some later. And that's the minute we found out, we did the audit. And nothing has coincided with the numbers that we've been provided since. So that email that went out yesterday to our members was, to the best I can say, not only was it unfair, it was inaccurate, and it was, I'm just going to say, I'll follow his words, a slap in the face to those of us who are relying on information to coincide. We would love our information to match up with what the district has given us, to validate what the district is saying. But at this point, we can't do that. And for us to ask our members to forego something that was negotiated on our behalf in good faith in early 25, I can't ask them to do that. Our members voted collectively on contracts that was negotiated on our behalf in good faith with this board. And I'm not saying the board, I'm saying the district. I'll correct that. So I will not take that. Collectively, we need to do what some units, no disregard to Mr. Ramirez, had chosen to do. But clearly, without our information matching up, we cannot and will not ask our members to forego anything. And I came out of TPS. I worked at TPS for 13 years. My kids have gone to TPS. We are TPS strong. We are TPS proud. My family is. And yet, we're now at a precipice of where do we go from here? How do we move forward? It is impacting literally every single person we run into. And that's not just our workers. That's not just the families. That's not just our neighbors. It is the entire community. And yet, this is what we're faced with. The inaccurate information, the inconsistencies, and all of that. Now, we have made it available to our members. We have put it out there as factual, not opinions. I am not basing any of my communication with my members on opinions. But to say in any way that we, as AFSCME members, along with everyone else in this room, are not dedicated and committed to this district as a whole, how dare you? And if and when we can get that information, we'll be more than happy to discuss it with our members. We'll be more than happy to sit down and talk and further discussion. But until then, we will not. Thank you.
CAP and non-represented personnel agreements in support of district fiscal stability. Mr. Vestas, you're going to read that?
Yes, I will. Thank you, Ms. President. I will read the resolution to approve the agreement with the Toledo Association of Administrative Personnel and non-represented personnel in support of district fiscal stability. Whereas the Board of Education of the Toledo City School District, the board, recognizes that all employees play an essential role in serving students, supporting families, and maintaining the long-term strength of local schools, the district. And whereas the board further fully understands the difficult financial challenges currently facing the district and shared responsibility required to address the budget deficit while protecting student opportunities, instructional quality, and stability of the school district. And whereas the members of the Toledo Association Administrative Personnel staff have approved a pay increase and support the district's efforts to address the budget deficit, which reflects the commitment to public education, fiscal responsibility, and the student family of Toledo. The terms of the pay freeze are set forth in a memorandum of understanding, MOU, between CAP and the board. And whereas the board expresses its sincere appreciation to the members of CAP considering improving the pay freeze, and whereas the treasurer, the superintendent's cabinet will also take the same pay freeze as part of the collective effort to reduce costs and demonstrate shared sacrifice across leadership. And whereas the board believes this action represents a meaningful step toward shared responsibility while continuing to prioritize student, staff, and the community. Now therefore be resolved that the Board of Education of the Toledo City School District hereby approves the agreement with the Toledo Association of Administrative Personnel and a pay and subsidies for non-representative representative administrative personnel. Section 1. The board authorizes and directs the superintendent and treasurer to take all necessary steps to implement the CAP MOU. The board further authorizes and directs the implementation of a corresponding pay and subsidies for non-representative administrative personnel, including the superintendent, treasurer, and cabinet, under the same terms, conditions, provisions, and duration as set forth in the CAP MOU. Section 2. The board finds that all formal actions concerning this resolution were taken in open meeting and in full compliance with applicable laws. Section 3. The resolution shall be enforced and effective immediately upon its adoption. I ask that we pass this resolution. Thank you.
Is there a motion then?
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, treasurer, please call the roll.
Mr. Vasquez.
I want to say something, sorry. I know that decision wasn't easy for your members, but I do appreciate that you did so. I know it was easy, it's one acknowledgement.
Mr. Vasquez.
Yes.
Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Mrs. Barley.
Yes.
Ms. Barnes.
Yes.
Give me 1 moment, please. To re-enter the board from executive session. Moved and seconded, any discussion? Hearing none, Treasurer, please call the roll.
Mr. Metzger. Yes. Mr. Parker. Yes. Mrs. Fargo.
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes. Okay, we're going to move to section 6, which is the transportation plan 2.0. Resolution to approve the superintendent's recommendation to implement transportation 2.0. And I will read this very lengthy reso. Whereas the Toledo Public Schools Board of Education, the board is committed to ensuring long-term financial stability for Toledo Public Schools, the district, while ensuring student opportunities remain strong and aligning resources with student needs. And whereas the district, like other school districts across Ohio, is experiencing declining enrollment and rising operational costs, requiring strategic realignment of facilities, programming, and services. And whereas the TBS superintendent has presented Transformation 2.0, a comprehensive phased-in approach to academic programming, facility utilization, transportation routing efficiencies, and student opportunities beginning in the 2026-2027 school year, which is attached here to and incorporated by reference. And whereas the board had previously authorized and implemented cost containment measures pursuant to the state-required financial recovery plan adopted in December of 2025, resulting in reductions to staffing programs and support services. And whereas the board recognizes that the district has implemented cost containment measures in advance of the state-required timeline, resulting in savings that reduce the remaining budget gap to approximately $26.8 million as compared to the approximately $41 million initially identified in the state plan. And whereas the superintendent has presented Transformation Plan 2.0, which identifies targeted savings of $26.8 million through various initiatives, including but not limited to closing and possible repurposing of several schools and adjustments to transportation routing and arrival dismissal times, thus creating greater efficiency, staffing alignment, and program adjustments. Whereas the board finds it necessary and appropriate to authorize the superintendent and treasurer to implement cost containment measures beyond those set forth in Transformation Plan 2.0, including but not limited to those that align with the state cost recovery plan. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Toledo Public Schools Board of Education hereby accepts and approves the recommendations of the superintendent and authorizes implementation of all provisions of Transformation Plan 2.0. The board also states the following. Section 1. The board authorizes and approves the closing and future options for repurposing of the following school buildings effective beginning the 2026-2027 school year. Navarre Elementary, Martin Luther King Academy for Boys, Spring Elementary, Walbridge Elementary, Harvard Elementary, Pickett Elementary, Westfield Achievement Academy, and Heatherdown's. Section 2. The board authorizes and directs the superintendent to negotiate and enter into an agreement with the Toledo Federation of Teachers concerning the implementation of a 3-tiered belt-and schedule for the 26-27 school year, including high schools and magnet schools beginning at 7:30 a.m., Rogers, Start, and Woodward Elementary Schools beginning at 8:25 a.m., Bowser, Scott, and Wake beginning at 9:25 a.m. for elementary schools. If an agreement is not reached by May 13, 2026, the board hereby directs and authorizes the superintendent to identify and implement cost-saving measures equivalent to the projected savings associated with 3-tier bell time schedule with staff arrival time adjustments. Section 3, the board hereby approves the implementation of 3-tier bell time schedule set forth in Section 2 for the 2027-28 school year. Section 4, beginning with the 26-27 school year, athletic programs across the district shall be maintained based upon student participation levels sufficient to ensure program viability. Section 5, the board hereby authorizes the establishment of the Boucher Arts and Science Academy, including the expansion of Boucher High School to include 7th and 8th grade. Section 6, the board hereby authorizes the expansion of Stark High School to include 7th and 8th grade. Section 7, the board hereby authorizes and directs the superintendent and treasurer to implement all necessary cost reduction measures identified in the state cost recovery plan in order to achieve the required budgetary savings. These steps include, but are not limited to, staffing adjustments and workforce reductions, program modifications or eliminations, operational and administrative cost reductions, and resource reallocation and efficiency measures. Administration will provide a bi-weekly written update to each board member outlining the plan of action, key decisions, implementation progress, and any anticipated challenges, ensuring timely visibility, collaboration, and eliminating late-stage disclosures. Section 8, the board finds that all formal actions concerning this resolution were taken in open meetings and in full compliance with applicable law. Section 9, the resolution shall be in full force and effect immediately upon its adoption. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, treasurer, please call the roll.
Mr. Vasquez.
Yes.
Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Mrs. Barlow.
Yes.
Ms. Barnes.
Yes. At this time, section 7 is comments by the board. Mr. Vasquez?
Aye.
Ms. Barnes?
Thank you, Madam President.
I first want to thank the union presidents. So people think I'm on me, I don't think they figure out how much. But I want to give presidents first that I reached out to talk to me, gave me best advice on how to address the situation. But many people don't know about us is we have lives beyond this. This is not our real job, right? I would say real job. But this is not our living paid job. We have real time jobs. This is something that we all volunteer to do. Last year, 2025, I think I paid about $1,650 to do this position. So we're not doing this in the money here. So I hope you understand that as teachers, since I know my mom is a teacher, but she wasn't doing it for the money. And the most hurtful thing is, just like you were all hurt, the statement was that you didn't care about your students or your schools. It's the same statement that I have to read. When my kids go to your schools, my kid graduated from MLK. He's graduated from Young's. I have another kid in the district. I have family and friends in the district. So and I'm not blaming you. I know that you're emotional and I know that you're upset. You have a right to do so. But I am so tired of this. That we're fighting each other. And we're both losing. Right now, we are both losing. I'm losing a school district just like you. I live in the same neighborhood. I'm TPS Prime. I have babies that I work with their families that I can't go to confidentiality that go to these schools as just like you do. I literally, and you can talk to some teachers and all sorts of stuff, getting food, shelter, clothing, you name it. You call me, still to this day, for your family, I will show up. I am tired of fighting you all to save our district.
When we have people, and yes, I'm going to say Josh Williams, who was the state representative, who was bragging about canceling DEI. You know what that means to me as a special needs mom? That he was going to eliminate my child's care and TPS. Because if he eliminated at the state level, what are we going to do about it here locally? I don't want to fight anymore. This sucks. This sucks. I know what it feels like to lose a school district. In Flint, Michigan, you can look it up right now. I have no longer an elementary, a middle school, or a high school. All of them are closed. I know what it's like to have to relocate and make new friends, try to fit in because you're from a different area. I know how hard it is to live with a kid. I know how hard it is as a parent because when Walbridge closed right here on Broadway and we moved back and back, my daughter was in that school. I know how difficult this is. Nobody wants to do this. Nobody. But what I will tell you is, we have to start working together. We can have emotions and we can do all of that. But guess what? If you think this is bad now, if a bill passed, and I can't remember the bill, and I can email it or put it on my Facebook page, whatever. It is a bill right now saying that it's up for a vote, that the state wants to. They will propose the capacity of 60% or less. Y'all went to the transportation plan meeting, y'all have the packet. It was several of the schools that was at 64, 58, and guess what? They're not counting STEM classes, because they don't think my kid, who's autistic, matters. They're not counting STEM classes. I want you to know that. They're counting general pop or gen ed, which sounds like Christmas to me, but general education students at the 60% level. So guess what? If it's at 60% or less, the state will close our schools. That's a bill on the docket right now. So we have to start figuring out this together. You can blame me today, but let's fight together tomorrow. I am so serious. Because my babies are in this district.
I am not just a board member. I was born in this district. Kindergarten, graduation, my wife, my kids, my mom, my dad, we're part of TPS. I remember that day in 1991 when I was a student of Macron Education Technical High School. Came to that school board meeting on that day. And all I had to say was, please don't go to school. I gotta be honest, tonight was really heavy. And I want to take this moment to acknowledge every parent, every teacher, every staff, and of course our students. Especially those who are directly impacted by these decisions, because for many of us, for all of us in this room, it's not about a plan. It's personal. You have every right to feel what you feel. Yeah. Every frustration, every concern, every anger, because that's proof that everybody in this room cares. It's proof that everybody takes care of us. This is not easy. I thought about weighing options, considering the impact. And at the end of the day, still have a responsibility, not just as a district for where we are, but for where we need to go. There are real challenges, ladies and gentlemen, that no matter what narrative that we subscribe to, and I know we always say we're not the only district that's dealing with this, but we have to answer for Toledo public schools. I can't speak for everybody else. I can only answer for us. Doing nothing is not something that we can say. So this doesn't make it any better. But if we're going to move forward, we have to do it the right way. Everyone that spoke in the conference for our union representation, doesn't mean anything if everybody takes it one ear and not the other. Gotta start somewhere. And there are many of you that with this plan you won't agree with it, and I respect that. Whether you receive this today or not, for me, this is not without thought. This was not without care. I still believe in this district. I am a byproduct of this district. I still believe in our students. And I really hope, and well, if you don't know, I'm pastor, so I'm really praying that we intend to do this done the right way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Berger. I wrote up my comments because I appreciate your emotion. With Barnes, and I would see them myself trying to speak without writing them down. So I'm going to go ahead and read mine. I want to acknowledge the deep concern and range of emotions following this board's vote to close certain school buildings, reduce athletic opportunities, and possible changes to transportation and meal times. These decisions were extraordinarily difficult. If this were a matter of the heart, none of these decisions or actions would have been made. We understand that our schools are more than buildings. They are at the heart of our neighborhoods. Before I was on this board, I was a family parent. And TFP and TAP and ASSE also. This looks like a great person to get on board, and she's going to fight for our members. And I continue to do that behind the scenes, whether people see it out and about or not. My family is here. My family is TAP. My family is ASSE. However, the reality we face is a significant financial deficit that requires immediate and responsible action. We must align our district's operations with the funding available to us. Over the years, changes at the state level, including the expansion of vouchers and continued support for charter schools, have reduced the resources available to our traditional public school districts, like Toledo Public Schools. Even as expectations and responsibilities placed on public schools and our staff, and you all know that, continue to grow. And all while TPS is working to create opportunities for our students that you provide. We successfully negotiated 3-year contracts to ensure staff stability, a decision made to value our educators. We all fought for those for you. These contracts were based on the state of Ohio's 2021 promise to phase in the Fair School Funding Plan over 6 years. Unfortunately, the current state biennial budget failed to honor the final 2 years of that phase-in, creating an immediate and unexpected revenue shortfall. Additionally, state aid is tied to enrollment. So like many cities in the region, we are feeling the impact of lower birth rates and population shifts, which further reduces our per pupil funding. It's also important to understand that Toledo Public Schools is not alone in facing these challenges. Districts across Ohio, and I've spoken to many board members across the state, including Columbus, Cleveland, Lorain, Barberton, Lexington, Fairfield, Norton, New Richmond, Streetsboro, Riverside, Elyria, Amherst, Akron, Southwestern City, all experiencing immediate financial strain, while many facing deficits or are turning to their communities for additional support through levies. Even closer to home, Pike York Local is confronting similar challenges. And I want to remind everyone that 90% of our students in Ohio attend public schools, with only 70% of Ohio's school funding, which goes to public schools. That's a policy issue at the state level. Across Ohio, public school districts are collectively losing billions in available funding while being asked to do more for students and families. This broader context does not make these decisions any easier, but it underscores the situation we face is not isolated. It is a part of a larger statewide challenge. There are difficult and uncertain times, but our responsibility remains clear to ensure the long-term stability and success of Toledo Public Schools. We are committed to moving forward with transparency, compassion, and a continued focus on minimizing the impact on our students, families, and staff. We will continue to engage with our community, listen carefully, and work together as we navigate these necessary but painful changes. There's going to be forums set up, I know, sometime today for the families and the staff that are impacted at the schools that are going to be closing, or even the transferring successfully rate to the high school. In closing, to our students, parents, and staff members who are feeling the weight of these changes, these decisions were not made lightly. They do not reflect the lack of value for your hard work or your school's history. We are making difficult choices now to ensure that Toledo Public School remains strong, stable, and vibrant pillar of this community for generations to come. And I thank you for your continued support of Toledo Public Schools and the students we serve and public education. The one thing I do want to add with Ms. Barnes, I'm in agreement. I want all of us to work together. That was the whole point of the oversight committee, was to work together with administration and the board and the union leaders and the community as a whole to find a way out of this unfortunate situation we find ourselves in. So moving forward, I will also make that commitment that we do exactly what you're talking about as far as. Right. We're going to move on to. No, go ahead, please.
I do apologize, not for what I said, but for forgetting once again. The Glass City students and counselors sent a card over, I want to say last month, to us. They were at the time, they had a student who experienced gun violence at their school front door, and as an advocate for gun safety and reducing gun violence, reached out to the counselor and things like that to make sure it was okay. I could have been more, but we were basically dealing with this stuff. But they took the time, your students, and some counselors took the time to say, you know, pretty much from all of us at Glass City Academy, wishing you well, because they know we're going through the situation, but also have students impacted by gun violence as well. I just wanted to say thank you publicly to the Glass City students and counselors here. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go back to section 8, which is the consent agenda. Agenda items 8.01 through 8.38. Other consent agenda items, board members may request to pull an item from consent and move to this discussion section of the agenda. Items 8.01 to 8.05, the Human Resource Committee, which is the chair, Carl Bilderberg, and co-chairs, Mary Parker Lillard. Items 8.06 to 8.11 is Budget, Finance, Stabilization, and Operations Committee, chaired by Vasquez, co-chair myself. Items 8.12 to 8.13, Academic and Program Design Committee, chaired Carl Bilderberg, and co-chair myself. Items 8.14 to 8.31, Legislative Policy Committee, chairs myself and co-chair Sheena Barnes. Items 8.32 and 8.34 in building relationships and district growth and engagement are bridge committee. Chair is Randall Carper III, co-chair is Sheila Barnes. Items 8.35 transformation plan oversight committee. No actions this month. Chair Lovett says co-chair myself. Items 8.36 to 8.38 approval of board meeting minutes. I'd like to request a motion to approve the consent agenda items, please.
So, second.
This is a moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, Treasurer, please call the roll.
Mr. Vasquez?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Mrs. Barwick?
Yes.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes. Section 9 of the agenda consists of reports and minutes from this month's committee meetings. They are here for information and reference. No action is required, so we can proceed to section 10 of the agenda. Section 10 are discussion items. 10.01, April 28, 2026, non-certified section. I'd like to request a motion to approve the April 28, 2026 non-certified section. So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, Treasurer, please call the roll.
Mr. Vasquez?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Mrs. Barwick?
Abstain.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes. All right, section 11, are there walk-ins?
And you know that there's a resolution that that the league going through HR committee and please go ahead and that.
Correct, yes. We do have one walk-in, TFT 26-005, closing repurposing of schools and placement procedures.
I can have that resolution now.
Please. Is there additional information on this?
With the repurposing of the schools, the placement procedures, and typically whenever a school is repurposed or closed, we do have procedures that dictate which staff members will have priority bidding to their respective schools that they are entering.
Is there a motion to approve?
Dr. Jeffrey Martin, okay, can you please, this is a lot of motions, my ADHD is screaming. Can you tell me this in plain English what specific?
Yes, absolutely. So in accordance with the CPA, we worked with the Federation to determine, and this is the same thing that we do, we have historically done. So basically, when a school is closed, after we follow the CPA procedures for staffing within the receiving schools, we then allow those schools, the staff members from the closed schools to bid into the school that is the receiving school. And this just talks about how they bid into those schools, and it talks about the packing and the transition of those repurposed or closed schools.
With that, do they have, I don't know, I guess it would be like the, I won't say trigger when we talk about schools, but as the number of kids increase, right, as the average kids from the repurposed school to the new school, would that also then tell how the staff break down?
Absolutely. So the staffing is done separately, and the staffing will dictate how many positions are available, how many vacancies are available in said schools, in the respective schools that are the receiving schools. So once we know what the staffing is, then we will list that, and it is done by seniority, again, by in accordance with the CPA, the TFT CPA.
And will the board member have an idea of that said staffing vacancy?
We will know this week, by the end of this week, yes.
Okay, Friday?
Correct, yes,
Okay.
or earlier.
That's perfect. So I have another question. So my understanding is these memorandums of understanding have been agreed to
by the labor.
Yes, and signed. Yes, correct.
The original top. So this
Correct.
is
Yes, and again, this is just the procedure. This is not the actual staff. So these are the procedures dictating which schools, and this was presented in the oversight committee as well. So which schools are the receiving schools, and also the reiteration of the CBA procedures as well.
Any questions? Is there a motion to approve? So moved.
second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Please call the roll, please.
Mr. Vasquez.
Yes.
Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Mrs. Barkley.
Yes.
Ms. Barnes.
Yes. Section, are there any other walk-ins? Section 12, early childhood education action items. There are no action items this month. The chair of our co-chair, Randall Probably learned. Anything that you want to add as far as word? Section 13 of the agenda consists of early childhood education reports and minutes from this month's committee meetings and are provided for your information and reference. So no action is required. We can proceed to section 14, which are early childhood walk-ins. Are there any this month?
No, we have no walk-ins in early childhood.
Great. Section 15 through 17 are comments. Superintendent.
I just want to speak on, again, tough decision. And that's what we've had to go through. Appreciate the emotion, board members as well as faculty members as well. Want to make sure that the intention on the email is anything respect. Never want to disrespect a faculty member based on what you do and what you put in, the effort you put in. And so I think obviously the fact that you were disrespected, never that I ever want to disrespect. Because at the end of the day, you're in the heart of the sleeve. And you show them to kids each and every day. I want to say, in essence, what we'll begin to do is start getting the community as well as the families and having conversations about what this looks like in that transition. I know some schools have already gotten started, so I know that don't preach and chat. They have to pick this school that's over there visiting, and they already have Spring Elementary as well. But these are some of the things that we've done in the past, and that's for making sure families have a potential. What are the opportunities within those schools? And we'll begin to get those dates out sooner than later within this week. So we have a good sense of what that looks like. Those schools will be engaging, but more importantly, parents have a sense of where their kids will attend, what are the options, the other things that we can support them in that process.
Board members.
Thank you, Madam President. Well, everybody understand the reason I'm making comments is because there's nothing that can be said to make this any better.
I just want to personally thank the staff, honestly, the teachers. I know what y'all do, especially for the school that we were purposing. I know what you do. I have helped you do what you do for students who have challenges, and I want to ensure you that I'm not stopping that. So if you do have a student that needs any type of food item, shelter, application, the services that I know I have committed to, I will still show up for you. This is not going to be the end, this is the beginning of this chapter, and we have to all just make sure that we still work together.
Super. For me, I also want to reiterate, I think everyone for coming out tonight, this is not easy. Nobody wants to do this at the end of a long day. I understand that. I can appreciate that. I thank the leaders for being here. Again, I have heard you. I understand. Unfortunately, what we can do at this point is move forward. My goal is to continue to advocate for the 1,341 days I still have left on the board. Happy to work with all of you to see what we can do to make it happen. down in Columbus, because therein lies the true issue. Motion to adjourn, so moved. Second. Put on your seconded, any discussion? Dr. President, please call the roll.
Yeah.
Thank you.